Family, I'm worried. And you already know who I'm worried for.
Ilia Topuria. I grab him by the scruff of the chest and slap that little nose off him, yeah? Little ding dong of a thing he is, yeah? I'm fucking Spanish. I'm in Marbella, bro, yeah? I'm in Marbella at the bare knuckle.
I remember when Ilia was talking about moving up, and there was like some talk of him moving up to fight Islam. Me and a buddy of mine who are really both into MMA were talking about it, and I was like, honestly, I think that Ilia could be the one to do it. I think that I would maybe favor him in that matchup. And I said, honestly, I think out of anybody that he would struggle against, I think his worst matchup at lightweight would be Oliveira. And my buddy was like, "Oh, you really think so, man? I don't know. I think Oliveira would get chinned." And I'm like, no, I think he's got the tools to get it done. And I said, I remember back in the day when he was about to defend his title against Dustin Poirier, and I thought the same thing. It's like an A plus B equals C kind of thing where you're like, oh, well, Oliveira gets dropped in every fight, therefore he fights a good boxer who can check his chin. He's gonna knock him out and he's gonna win. And then I got to studying tape back then for it. I come to my buddy and I'm like, listen, man, I think that he just has too many tools. He's going to overwhelm Poirier. He's going to teep him in the stomach, right in his ribs, knee him up against the cage, clinch him, feed him uppercuts, feed him straights, and then obviously he's got the superior ground game to just about anybody. No, man, no, I think Poirier's gonna knock him out, and then now I think Topuria is gonna knock him out, dude. I think he's gonna hurt him. I just think he's too chinny. And I'm like, you know what? Sure, maybe he would. So I'm gonna go look at some tape. Fun fact: I broke my ribs 3 weeks ago, so all I've been doing is sitting at home and learning new things. And one of them has been studying this card up and down, front to back, to figure out who I want to pick for this. I'm a bit of I wouldn't consider myself a gambler, but I like to wager some coin on some fights that I'm confident in from time to time. And I got to checking the odds for this fight that's coming up. And they are absolutely abysmal. So I just wanted to hop on here and kind of discuss this fight in depth, kind of go over what I have kind of discovered in this and give my thoughts on it. I kind of honestly, I flip flopped. I went from thinking, I think that would be a tough matchup for him, and it is. Probably the toughest matchup in the division for him, aside from maybe a couple other select ones. Might get into that here in a little bit. But I thought that would be the toughest test for him. But I still thought that Ilia had it in the bag. I still thought that he had the skills to go in there, chin Oliveira, finish him, whatever. And that is still true. He does, by all means. Nothing that I'm going to say in this video is indicative of Ilia not being a skilled fighter or not being able to beat Oliveira. But I want to talk about the concept of a controlling image for one. You can look that up on Google if you want to understand it more in depth. It's more of a sociological term, and it's more about stereotyping. But the stereotype around these two guys is Charles gets chinned and dropped every fight, and Ilia drops and chins people. Therefore, Ilia is going to drop and chin Charles. I'm here to tell you, man, that is not quite so. The MMA fan base has been delusional as usual, and they think for some reason that is just going to happen within the first 5 seconds of the fight. And what I've been doing is I've been going over tape. I've been turning the volume all the way off, so I'm not like biased by any commentary, and I'm not getting caught up in all that. And I'll watch the fight at half speed. I want to see the ins and outs of every exchange. I want to see their facial expression change frame by frame, excuse me. And I want to, you really start to uncover the truth of the matter in that. There's a few fights between the two that I think is very indicative of where this fight is going to take place. I'm going to start with Ilia here, right? I'm going to go over right here. Give us a second, this is being slow. You go down here and you look at Ilia's record, and he has had, the Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski wins. That's probably the two best back-to-back wins. Two of the best, like that. That's some of the best ones that anyone's ever had back-to-back. It's unreal. First ever person to knock out Max Holloway. That cannot be understated how impressive that is. But a lot of people look at these wins and they're like, okay, he was able to knock them out. Why wouldn't he be able to knock out Oliveira? For one, Alexander Volkanovski might have a long reach, but he's a shorter guy. And neither of these two guys are exactly dangerous. And as a matter of fact, I don't really think that any of the guys that he's fought, other than Josh Emmett, has been exactly dangerous, because Josh Emmett has the power to finish people. And like you saw here with Bryce Mitchell, too, come to speak of it, gave the dude a seizure by tagging him so hard. That's real power. And people that are familiar with Josh Emmett remember when, I think it was during his debut, maybe, when he fought Ricardo Lamas and sent him to the shadow realm as well. I remember watching that live, and I was like, wow, dude, that guy's going to be a real contender. And Josh Emmett is a good, decent fighter, but he doesn't have anything to threaten Ilia with other than his boxing and his power. So in a fight between two boxers, and one is the objective better boxer than the other one by pretty much every metric, what are you going to do about it? I would say that Ilia is probably a better wrestler than him too, even though he trains at Team Alpha Male around wrestlers and boxers all day. Ilia just does everything better than him. He probably has better conditioning than him as well. He's not a big dude. He's not carrying around all that muscle. But then you come to Alexander Volkanovski. He is on the shorter side, but he has a longer reach. But he doesn't really have the power to threaten Ilia with. So if you go back and look at that fight, a lot of what he's doing to Ilia kicks. And if you pay really close attention, Ilia does not check kicks. Go back and look at all of his fights. He does not check kicks. He doesn't do it. Which is a cardinal sin for his style of boxing, or his style of fighting. He leans in, leans over, he's got kind of like the shell going on. And he leans so heavy on that front leg that it's just there to be chopped away at. Max Holloway did the same thing. Bryce Mitchell did the same exact thing. Jai Herbert, same thing. Ryan Hall and Yusuf Zalal even. Which Ilia really showcased his wrestling in the Zalal fight, but that really wasn't even that impressive of a fight. Damon Jackson, again, not a dangerous guy. He's a long guy. Finished him pretty quickly. What does he have to threaten Ilia with? This Ryan Hall fight right here. A longer, taller guy. He does not have the striking really to threaten Ilia with. All he has is his little roll. What is it? What is it that they do? The little roll thing like Tony used to do. I just had it 5 minutes ago. Either way, you know what I'm talking about. All he has to threaten Ilia with is his ground game. This Ryan Hall fight right here, I remember watching it live as well. This is a startling red flag to me. What it lets me know is that Ilia does not want to engage in grappling exchanges with a guy named Ryan Hall. And some of you are going to say, hey man, yeah, why would he do that? He has a clear advantage on the feet, and Ryan Hall has one on the ground, so why wouldn't he just want to keep it standing? And that is totally fair, except for the fact that he's been running around saying, I'm going to submit Charles Oliveira. And Charles Oliveira is a guy with the most finishes and most submissions in UFC history. And he's out here saying, hey, I could sub him if I wanted to, which is a problem in and of itself. But the main problem is you guys are believing him. Go look at the odds on DraftKings or whatever betting app that you use right now. The odds for submission are even. The odds for the submission only money line, where if you don't know, you can bet a fighter to win by submission only, and if a knockout or a decision happens, you get your money back. It's only if they get submitted, they lose. Ilia is the favorite in the submission only line against Charles Oliveira. You guys are sipping the Kool-Aid. You know, like when he finished Max and he's all, whatever. You guys are eating it up. What are we doing? If he had the ability and the skill to engage on the ground with a guy with a high jiu-jitsu pedigree like Ryan Hall or Oliveira for that matter, he would have got down and done it no problem. He would have been like, yeah, whatever, I've got the power advantage. I don't mind to hop in your guard and blast away at you while you're on your back. And that also leads me to this Bryce Mitchell fight right here. When you see the entries that Bryce Mitchell does on his takedowns, for one, he doesn't even really set any of them up. I think Bryce Mitchell's an underrated fighter, but he's also a guy that's really not that big. He's moving down to bantamweight right now to fight Saeed Nurmagomedov. He's not big for featherweight. He's around that size. There's no reason why he should have been able to do any of that to Ilia if Ilia has the wrestling and grappling pedigree that he does. And some of you already are going to say, oh, look right here, bro. Second round, he choked him out. Yeah, that was more of a conditioning problem and the fact that he battered Bryce Mitchell on the feet. Then they went to the ground and he slammed him down and got in the choke. Bryce just got battered and beat up and tired. If they had like a straight up jiu-jitsu match, I don't know, I would probably favor Bryce in a straight up grappling exchange because what we saw in that, Bryce took him down multiple times. And not only took him down, but held him down. And something when it comes to grappling positions that you have to understand is so important is the accepting of a position. If you're willing to fight it and push somebody off of you and scramble and roll and get into these like crazy little exchanges like that, that's one thing. Ilia got took down, and multiple times he immediately accepted the position and decided to just let Bryce lay on him and rack up control time against him on the ground. Okay, for one, Oliveira has very underrated wrestling. You could see that in his fights with Arman Tsarukyan, Michael Chandler, and really anybody. His jiu-jitsu is so effective, he's understood that he just can't rely on his jiu-jitsu, though. That's why he's such a good striker now and such a good wrestler. He was taking Michael Chandler down multiple times. Him and Arman were getting into these crazy scrambles. Him and Kevin Lee, when they fought, were getting into crazy scrambles. And the point that I'm trying to make with all that is, yeah, Ilia can kind of power around a few of these guys down in this weight division. But look me in the eye. Look me in the eye and really seriously tell me that Oliveira, a guy who got top position on and held down these big, meaty, ox behemoth lightweights like Arman, who couldn't even make weight, probably, for his fight with Islam. Oliveira got top control on him and started battering his face and held him down for a good portion of that first round, almost submitted him multiple times. And if it had been 5 rounds, he probably would have won that fight. He's going to control him, control Kevin Lee, control big, strong ox Michael Chandler. And for that matter, even in the fight against Islam, had him pushed up against the cage at moments, feeding him knees into his ribs. You're going to sit here with a straight face. You're going to tell me that Bryce Mitchell took down Ilia and controlled him. No problem. But Oliveira's just not going to be able to. And then what's going to happen? Ilia's going to take him down, and then what? Oliveira's going to say, oh no, Ilia's in my guard? Oh God, dude, what am I going to do? Oh my God, Ilia's in my guard? There's no way I can possibly do anything to defend against this at all. It's delusional, truly. And aside from the grappling exchanges in these fights, where Ilia just accepted position, and let somebody like that get top control on him, who is nowhere near the skill level of Oliveira, and didn't even have to set it up with strikes to get him down to the ground. Let's talk about the striking aspect. Ilia is a very, very good boxer. He has never thrown a kick to the body or a kick to the head, ever. He's never done it. He has a very, very good low kick to the lead leg. It's very good. Oliveira has the same exact thing, and he's willing to check kicks. Ilia, on the way into some of these exchanges, gets peppered so often with jabs and straights. And I don't know what it is, but I've noticed a lot lately that fighters who are very hook heavy, who just want to throw hooks, in succession with each other and just tee off on your head, they're so susceptible to getting tagged in the face with jabs and straights because there's less of a time to wind up, and as they're winding up and throwing their body into it, there's almost like real life iframes where you have a small window in between where they're throwing that, where you can bam bam tag pepper them straight, because that's why the jab's so effective too, is there's a lot less space and distance that it has to travel through before you can actually reach your opponent. And Ilia does not like to be tagged. He does not. You can look at the Volkanovski fight and especially the Holloway and Jai Herbert fights right here. And Jai Herbert even, who is probably the most similar in build to Oliveira. He's a little bit taller and has a longer reach, so he's a little bigger than him, but has less options of what he's able to do. He's primarily a striker and kind of a journeyman at lightweight. He was able to knock Ilia's mouthpiece out multiple times. He was able to back Ilia up, which is a big problem, and he was able to feed him straights. Something that he struggled with against Herbert, Mitchell, Volkanovski, and Holloway all was this. Not only that, but after he throws combinations, when you start to look at these fights in slow motion, you see how often Ilia really overextends on his shots and how overreactive he is. And that's how I know that he is not comfortable with taking damage at all. That's something that you'll find with a lot of undefeated fighters. They've not been able to process losing. And Ilia's faced a lot of adversity, especially with this Jai Herbert fight where he got dropped and he came back. But you could see it there and in the Bryce Mitchell fight how desperate he was for some of these exchanges. Jai Herbert fight, he's like winging them all over the place. Same with Holloway. He's a lot of the time, even though he's very accurate, he's left swinging at air. And that leaves him very, very susceptible to getting tagged in these exchanges. Not only that, but after these exchanges, well, on the entry, he's getting tagged. After the exchange, he's getting tagged if they miss. And on the break, after a clinch, he's getting tagged hard with a straight. It happens so often. He's very susceptible to getting hit with knees in the clinch, and then on the break of the clinch, if he can break it, bam, straight right down the pipe, and it connects very, very often. With a lot of these fights too, what I've noticed, Jai Herbert, Mitchell, Volkanovski, and Holloway all implemented body kicks and leg kicks. Max especially had a lot of success with oblique kicks and side obliques. We saw Oliveira in his last fight. He implemented that very, very well against Michael Chandler, and in the later rounds, he hurt him very, very badly with it. Busted up his leg to where he was limping on it at some points. And also, defensively, Oliveira has looked the best he's ever looked in his last several fights, to where he's not really been hurt at all. He got hurt in the 5th round against Chandler, but Chandler hits really fucking hard. Really, really hard. People want to clown on some of the guys that Oliveira's fought, like Chandler and Kevin Lee, when they're not bad fighters at all. They just have kind of goofy personalities sometimes. Chandler specifically, I want you to consider when he made his debut against Dan Hooker. In the first round, he did what Poirier could not do in 5. He put Dan Hooker away beautifully and quickly. He's hurt Gaethje, hurt Oliveira, hurt Poirier, KO'd Tony Ferguson, the worst that we have ever seen him finished to date. And I mean, I think that's saying something. Like there's a lot of guys who have fought Gaethje and Poirier and did not have them nearly as hurt or close to being out as Chandler did. And like Chandler ultimately went on to lose those fights. But even at that, like he's a dangerous guy. He's got actual real skill. He's a big, powerful, strong guy. He's bigger than Ilia. I would imagine he was stronger than him too. Power-wise, I don't have any way to gauge that. Obviously, Ilia's had more knockouts than Chandler has, but I don't know that that's so much a power issue. I think that's more of a technique issue. I think Ilia is just a lot better at finding guys' chins, to be honest. But when you have a clear MO of what you need to do to win a fight, for Ilia, that being getting inside in the pocket and tagging Oliveira on the chin, there are things that you need to clear. There's hurdles you need to clear to be able to facilitate that and make it happen. For some people, like say Ryan Hall and Jai Herbert, there's only very minimal things that you have to worry with. Jai has moderate power. Main issue is getting on the inside because he's going to implement kicks and knees up the middle, which he did effectively. Ryan Hall, it's more of his grappling. You need to keep it standing. You need to clear those to be able to facilitate that. He was able to do so. Max Holloway, again, you don't really have to worry about his power. Same with Volkanovski. Same with Bryce Mitchell, really. You just got to get in and do it. Max Holloway is going to more overwhelm you with volume, but even in some of those exchanges, Ilia was losing a lot of those exchanges to Max. He was getting busted up very good, especially with Max's lead left hook specifically, which, don't know if you guys remember, Oliveira has a very, very good one. Dropped Michael Chandler with it in their first fight. He has a very good uppercut on the break of the clinch. A lot of the time when you break clinch, uppercut under the hands, and then bam, right down the pipe. Ilia gets hit with that a lot as well. Ilia, to be able to get inside on Oliveira, is going to have to clear so many things. He's going to have to be very composed. He's going to have to not be overreactive to getting tagged with combinations because he's going to get tagged hard. Gaethje said that Oliveira hit him harder than anybody he's ever faced to date. Said that his tongue went numb. He hit so hard. You can see it. You can see it when you watch these fights at half speed. Him tag these guys and punish them and hunt them down. Go and look at how many fights where Oliveira's had his opponents up against the cage, just pressure them and hunt them the whole time. You know, feeding them teeps into the ribs, blasting them up against the fence, throwing a flying knee if they try to like duck under. He just has too many tools and he overwhelms guys. Truthfully, if you guys have seen it, the fight between Joshua Van and Charles Johnson, I see going about the same exact way as this one. I don't see where Ilia has the advantage except in a power advantage like that, where he could tag him on the chin and make something happen in that way, which could be a reality of it. But I mean, I just don't see it. And like I said, like what are you going to do? Panic wrestle and then Charles jumps the gilly or puts you in an anaconda choke or anything, locks you up in a triangle. If you do manage to take him down, he's going to welcome the takedowns. And people are going to say like, oh, well, he got dropped by Islam. Yeah, Islam hits hard. He hits very hard, and he's an underrated striker and has a very good team behind him. And the thing is, I think, again, with these controlling images, you look, and a lot of the time when you face these Dagestanis, when somebody's facing them, they're just worried about the takedown and getting smashed on the ground, and they forget that these guys have real power. You could see that when McGregor fought Khabib, and he got blasted with that overhand right because he was worried too much about the takedown. And you have a guy that's by all means a superior striker losing to a wrestler. And Ilia coming in here and saying a lot of this stuff about like, yeah, I can submit Oliveira if I want to, brother. What are we talking about? You let Bryce Mitchell take you down and control you. You don't check leg kicks. You let every single one of these opponents just eat your body up with kicks. And with his style where he's like so leaned over like that, and Oliveira just feeding him teeps and push kicks and knees and everything like that into his solar plexus, it's going to zap him of energy. And I just think that everybody collectively has bought into this, where it's aura maxing is what it is. It's Ilia, just having everybody sip the Kool-Aid and believe that he's. I mean, people are talking like Oliveira is about to fight Fedor or Cain Velasquez or something. I mean, what are we doing? It's Ilia, man. At the end of the day, these are just two men with a skill set, and by all means, Ilia could find Oliveira's chin. But think about how many of those hurdles he's going to have to overcome. He's never fought anybody as strong as this. Like you don't think at lightweight, when Oliveira was on that 12-fight win streak, with in what some people still think is the most dangerous division in the UFC, full of killers. I mean, he went through death row and had a 12-fight win streak. You don't think that he would have blasted Jai Herbert and then strangled him to death? And for him to hit that hard and Ilia not to enjoy getting tagged that much. Props right now for Oliveira by KO under 4.5 rounds is plus 1,100. That is absolutely insane. To see that when he's fighting a guy who almost got KO'd by Jai Herbert, dude. Not only that, but that brings me to my final point. With Ilia's fights, you go back and you look, and let alone him getting tagged like this with straights, he has to have his opponent up against the fence to KO them. It happens every time he does this. Even with the Bryce Mitchell win, where he finished him with a sub, he had him up against the fence when that happened. He had Ryan Hall pretty close, Damon Jackson up against the fence, Jai Herbert up against the fence, Volkanovski and Holloway both up against the fence. That has to be his MO as well, as to pressure. He has to be the one taking, going forward and pressuring. The whole time, Oliveira is going to be peppering him with stuff while he's going for him. He's going to be on his bike. He's going to be getting zapped of energy, getting fed kicks into his body. He's going to be breathing deeper, breathing hard. At some point, he's going to have to open his mouth to get more air in. He's going to get blasted down the middle while all this is happening. And all those hurdles that he needs to clear are going to be more and more difficult to jump over. We've seen Ilia go 5 rounds once. Doesn't seem like it's going to be a cardio issue, but he wasn't taking nearly as much damage from Josh Emmett as he's at risk of taking against Oliveira. Oliveira, we know, can go 5. Fine. He's done it multiple times. But the thing is with Topuria, where he's going to have to come forward, he will not do it against Oliveira the way that he needs to do it, in my opinion. Even in the fight against Bryce Mitchell, Bryce was tagging him with some good combinations, even almost got him with a head kick. He was tagging him with 1-2s down the pipe, making him back up and following him out of the middle of the ring. Ilia has to take charge and he has to pressure to be able to win this. But when he's in there and he gets hit with a good combination or an exchange, he's too willing to just kind of like float off of that and kind of like hop back and then kind of come back in. It's not going to happen with a guy like Oliveira who's going to be hunting you. His high Muay Thai stance like that, coupled with how good his jiu-jitsu is. Muay Thai stances usually are weak to wrestlers. You might hit him with like a blast double leg or something like that, take him down, and then bam, there you are. Oliveira doesn't care. He's going to welcome the takedown. He's going to say, go ahead, get in my guard. That benefits me more than it does you. Go ahead. And then in that Muay Thai stance, he's got the tight guard to be able to cover these hooks. And not only that, but like not only cover him, but then bam, blast down the middle, or bam, feed an elbow to you in the middle, or especially the teep. I know I keep returning to that, but the teep is the main thing here with that high guard. He's in a place where Ilia is not able to hit him effectively, but Ilia is always going to be in a place where he can hit him. It's like a Spartan's shield and spear. It's like a phalanx type thing. He can defend himself moderately while damaging him significantly over and over and over as much as he really wants while he's hunting him down or when he's backing up. It's not really going to matter. Ilia likes to lean in and out a lot. He's got a good high kick. Caught Benil with it. And I mean, even fights where he was dropped, like the thing that you can say about Ilia, like the silver lining for a lot of people who are backing Ilia in this is like, oh well, he won all these fights and he like devastatingly KO'd them. I could say pretty much the same thing about Charles Oliveira. I could say the same thing. Yeah, he got dropped in these fights, and really, I'm not convinced that Gaethje even truly dropped him. I'm not convinced that was a true, like, him being hurt. I think he laid down, inviting him into his guard. And really, it didn't matter. Every time he got dropped, which was like 3 times that round, popped right back up, went right back to the most savage ass whooping you've ever seen in your life, drops Gaethje, which not really anybody else has been able to do like that. It took Max Holloway like all of 5 rounds minus 1 second to do it. Poirier, it took 5 rounds several years ago. I mean, people just don't drop Gaethje like that. They don't do it, not without having like significant adversity to have it done. Like you got to sacrifice a lot. Oliveira didn't do much sacrificing. He just blasted the guy, and then it was just straight up club and sub, which I'm not going to doubt is what's going to happen to Ilia in this. I'm amazed that this is the narrative going into this of like, oh, I just don't understand. Like I don't see what path Oliveira has to win, and I'm like, brother, what are we doing here? And Ilia hops on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he's like, oh yeah, Charles has got like 10 losses. He's been fighting since he was 18 years old. He was probably in the UFC fighting when you were like in middle school or high school, however the numbers work on that. He has like 45 fights, dude. You have 16. That's much, much different. And he's been fighting in the highest levels against killers pretty much his entire MMA career. Whereas Ilia on the regional scene, like he had some good wins, but it wasn't really against like marquee opponents. I mean, let's be honest. And Oliveira's been in the UFC since like what, like 2008? Let's take a gander here. Let's look and see when he was in the UFC, man. If this ever loads. All the way down here. All the way. Bro, he's been in the UFC since 2010, dude. 2010 was 15 years ago. Ilia was 12 years old. Brother, Charles has been in the UFC since you were 12. I think that you should, be approaching this in a lot more of a different way than what you are. And what bothers me a lot about that is when you come into a fight like that, when you're undefeated and you're overly confident about stuff like that, that is your moment to get humbled. Everybody keeps talking about Ilia being, like his come up has been close to like what McGregor's was. Like it mirrors it almost. They got the same back tat. Yeah, they do. This is Topuria's Nate Diaz, is what this is. I mean, this is. If you were to sit and make a fighter to be Ilia's complete nightmare to deal with, it would look something like Oliveira, except just with a better chin, to be honest. That's really the only thing. I think if Oliveira had a better chin and he wasn't so susceptible to getting dropped, this would not be the narrative right now. But people just think about that. They don't think about fights as a whole thing. They think about fights in specific moments, most of the time being the finishes. But this is just such a wild narrative to me. And other than that, Michael Chandler, when he fought with him, really these last three fights since he's fought Islam, he's looked so much more defensively sound and conservative with his energy. He was content in that last Michael Chandler fight, and mind you, Michael Chandler is a good wrestler, very good, powerful, strong wrestler. Same with Beneil and Arman. Arman, probably other than Islam, the best pure grappler in the division. Um, he was able to hang in there with them and really threaten them with grappling and takedowns. Michael Chandler, he took down and held down and just smashed him every round basically. And yeah, he hurt him in the fifth, but couldn't finish him even after like 17,000 shots to the back of his head and eye gouging him and other shit. I mean, he was dropping him with stuff, getting him running all over the cage. And like Michael Chandler gets hurt, but you don't see people do him that way, except for Patty Pimblett here lately, which that shocked me to death. But yeah, I mean, I just don't see it going well for Ilia. I really don't. I've watched these fights over and over again, and just from the way that the guy's talking, I don't see it. And he's talking about moving up to 170. Could you really, honest to God, imagine Ilia fighting Jack Della Maddalena or fighting anybody at welterweight? I mean, come on, like what are we doing? Could you imagine him fighting Shavkat? Like, he would die. But in his heart, I don't think Ilia is like a bullshit merchant. I really don't. I think that he really, really does believe what he's saying. I just think that he's supremely delusional. And I think it's going to get him hurt real bad. And I think a lot of people are going to lose money that they donated to the bookies this weekend because they don't want to accept the fact of the matter that Oliveira is a lot better than they're giving them credit for. And I don't understand where this is coming from. He looked so much more defensively sound in his last several fights, and he's by far the most dangerous guy that Ilia has ever fought in his entire career. It's going to be so much different, and I think within, I would say, the first 3 minutes, you're going to be able to see it all over Ilia's face that it was a lot different than what he was expecting. Also, by the way, I'm going to go down through here, and this whole narrative about him being chinny and Ilia's just going to flatline him and stuff like that. And like, see, these I'm not really taking into consideration all that much. This one I remember watching live when he fought Max, and that was like a weird, like, esophagus tear injury. Like, they didn't even really fight. Like, they got in there for a minute, like you can see here. Pettis, that was when he moved down to featherweight, and Lamas, that was still at featherweight. He was killing himself to get down there. You see how big Oliveira is. I mean, the dude is huge. He towers over a lot of like big guys. And I seen a picture with him and John Jones here a while back, and he didn't look that much smaller than Jones. Meanwhile, Ilia's sitting taking pictures posted up with Raul Rosas Jr., looking half his size almost, which is nuts. Then you see him up here, and like, this is when he moved up to lightweight, I believe, when he fought Will Brooks. I remember watching this as well, and this Paul Felder fight. And, Paul Felder, he was very, very close to winning against Paul Felder. He tired out his arms trying to lock up a submission. Paul somehow managed to, survive that. And then he got him with elbows and ground and pound. And I've always said that Paul Felder is such an underrated fighter. And if he had more like pressure and like more of like an aggressive mindset, he could have been a real problem and a real top contender. But right there, I mean, even then, like, yeah, it was a TKO, as you can see here. He didn't get flatlined. He just got elbowed and couldn't continue. It's not like he got knocked out cold like that. Like, I can't remember a time during any of this, even during like Cub Swanson, I don't think that was one either, where he just got like flatlined to where he was like out cold, unconscious. Like he still had his wits about him. He just got blasted in some of these, including the Paul Felder loss. That was the last time that he's been like truly TKO'd. That was 8 years ago, almost. That was it's been almost 10 years, a decade, since that happened. He goes on this win streak right here. And watching these fights back, bro, he completely slaughters these dudes. And I want you to look at how many finishes this is against like top level guys. Finish, 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 finish. It's grappling. Finish, and these are all coming by submission, most of them, except for the Nick Lentz one, I think, and Jared Gordon. So that was a bad one too. That was a perfect slip counter. You know, he would have submitted anyone else in that armbar he got Tony Ferguson in. But, you know, and I want you to look at this too. Like if it had been anybody else but Tony, they would have tapped. Tony was more, I mean, you know, the dude needs to be institutionalized. So he was just going to let him break it. Right here, 4 in a row, he straight up slaughtered all the kings of violence. The only person he's missing on that infinity gauntlet of violence is Eddie Alvarez, and he would kill Eddie Alvarez, dude. Straight up. And then, yeah, like he's not been as active as he was as champion, of course. But, you know, I think even with Islam, if he had been more wary of Islam's power, which I think he would be if they ever rematched, I wouldn't doubt at all that Oliveira could go and wear him down for 5 rounds and really give him some serious problems with his striking and everything. Same with Arman. You could make the case that Oliveira won their fight. Is a split decision. A lot of people think he should have won. Me personally, I think Arman edged him out with control time and ground and pound. You can make a case for it. I just wouldn't. I actually picked Beneil against Oliveira when they fought. And a lot of people are saying that he should have finished Michael Chandler in their last fight that he had. Michael Chandler's a dangerous guy, man. You really should probably just play it safe with him. I mean, I don't blame him, and I was very impressed by that performance because what he did to Michael Chandler in that fight is not easy to do, just to wear him down over 5 rounds. And I mean, he won pretty much every round except maybe the 5th, very decisively. He smashed him. There was no opposition. And you don't want a repeat of their first fight where he does get hurt and almost finished in the first, only to come right back and catch him with a left hook, which Ilia is very susceptible to as a counter. It's not good. It's not. I don't see what everyone else sees in this. I don't know what everybody else is smoking. And like I said, I mean, it's going to sound like a lot of this that I'm just like shitting all over Ilia. I'm really, really not, man. I like Ilia a lot, but the fact of the matter is that, like, I'm not going to let aura maxing or his confidence or even delusions get in the way of the truth. They're just 2 men coming in there with certain skill sets, and that's that. And I broke down the tape, I studied it, and I saw what I saw, and here I am delivering it straight to you guys. I don't see it working out in Ilia's favor. If Ilia does win, I think he should be in the talks to be up there in the names of some of the greatest fighters who have ever lived, because that is not an easy task, especially if he flatline KOs him. Nobody ever done it to Max Holloway before until Ilia came along and done it. And if he does beat Oliveira in this way, I mean that's going to be amazing. I just don't personally see it happening. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. You know, tell me if maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I was a little too harsh in my delivery of it. I don't think so. I really love both of these fighters. If this had been Ilia against somebody else, you know, if this had been Ilia against really any other contender at featherweight, if he had held on to his belt and kept it at featherweight, I would have favored him over anybody else in that division. But I've been saying it since he had talked about moving back up, is I could see him doing better against most of anybody else in that division except Oliveira. I think that is his nightmare matchup in this. For real, go back and look at these fights, turn the volume all the way down, watch it at half speed, and watch how many exchanges he actually loses, how many times that he hits air and whips and overreacts after getting tagged, and how much he really like overshoots when it comes to stuffing takedowns too, because he does not want to be on his back. And tell me I'm wrong. And if you still disagree, that's totally fine, man. That's just the way I see it. You see a different way, let me know. And either way, I love you. And thank you for sticking around and watching. And until next time, please hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be doing this a lot more often. This is going to be a new thing that I'm doing. This is one of the things that I'm most passionate about is mixed martial arts. So stick around. If this gets enough traction, I'll be doing this more often than I'm doing now. So this is just what I did because I had some free time, hence the broken ribs. Speaking of which, I also got medical bills to pay because of the broken ribs, among other things. So help your boy out. Help your boy out. Anyway, family, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it very much. And until next time, I love you.